Hi everybody, it's me, Beth Maitland from Drama Queen Bee Quilt Studio. And today I just wanted to chat for a little while and show you what we're working on for my next class coming up in August on the 23rd on a Saturday afternoon at Roxanne's A Wish and a Dream in beautiful Carpinteria Beach. We're going to make a crossbody bag. And it is all slow stitched. It is I'm going to include kits in the class, which I always do, and we're going to learn to make fabric rope, which I'm now obsessed with, and there will be a forthcoming video where we'll just experiment with a few different colors and stuff and show you how to quickly make a fabric rope, which we're going to sew on today on my class sample crossbody bag. You might recognize some of the fabrics. These are all from Tilda's new collection, her wallflower collection, which is just so beautiful and sweet and precious. And these are all from the pink colorway. She has several different ones. I bought a couple of fat quarter bundles in different colorways because the Tilda fabrics work beautifully as tiny little snippets in my slow stitch practice. So I'm using pearl cotton. This is from, let's see, I showed it to you just a second ago and I wasn't really thinking. Valdani, I think, and it's 8. It's size 8. It's a perfect, I love this weight and this brand of pearl cotton because it's, first of all, they're beautiful colors, but these are all variegated. And I always feel like variegated threads are more bang for the buck. You can do all kinds of thread painting, and it adds to the texture to change colors as you stitch. And it's a lot less work to have to change the colors of threads manually each time you'd like a variegation in what you're working on, especially doing petals and leaves and things like that, things from nature, fur, feathers, things like that. The variegation is just a fantastic added bonus and time saver. So what we're going to do is I've knotted our little fabric rope. Oh my gosh, I use my brain cells differently than I used to. I used to be so bright, so well spoken. And now if I come up with one difficult word, it's like I'm used up for an hour. I can't I can't find my vocabulary. Anyway, so we're going to take a few tacking stitches. These are just whip stitches in the way that I've sewn the entire bag together. I folded it in half after the slow stitching was done and after the lining was attached and just whip stitched around. That's how we're going to assemble our strap also. I do maybe 3-4 whip stitches at the knot and take my needle through all the layers of the fabric rope. I want to make sure that I'm making it nice and secure at the knot, even though we're going to work our way up to the opening of the pouch, the crossbody bag, and sew more of it down. I always just like to make sure that it's nice and sturdy because this is just the right size. I planned this to hold my cell phone, and so I want to make sure I don't want my cell phone to drop or the bag to rip or the rope to fall off because the threads weren't secure enough. So I'm maybe overdoing it just a little bit in case you're just going to use this as like a decorative little bag or a bag for a little girl who doesn't have much heavy stuff to carry around, just lipstick and keys and credit cards. But anyway, I'm probably overdoing it just a little bit, but mine is going to be for my cell phone. So I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. So what I do is that, like I said, I start and I finish at the knot and at the opening to the bag with 3 or 4 overcasts. Every time I scoot the needle back through the seam whip stitching, I want to make sure that I move about maybe half an inch up the fabric rope and go through both twists of my fabric rope into the actual fabric with my needle. And then I whip stitch maybe 2 times around and then move up the seam maybe a half of an inch and then whip stitch 2 times around, tugging on it, making, checking as I go, making sure that it's encapsulated inside those whip stitch seams that constructed my bag. And so I work my way up just a little bit like that, about every half an inch, until I get to the top and the opening of the bag. And then I do 2 or 3 more rounds just to make sure that it's nice and tied off, that it's nice and secure. And I've got extra threads. This pearl cotton is very strong and sturdy. And so the thread part isn't my big concern. It's my knots and the number of stitches that I want to just confirm is nice and sturdy and thorough and secure. So how's everybody today? That's the sort of the new trend. When you do these videos, I don't do them very often anymore because I sort of find that everybody has a YouTube channel now. Everyone that sews or knits or crochets or reviews cars or restaurants or cooks. Everybody has YouTube channels, and it's so fun to be able to have this platform to share things we care about and love. But I also sort of find that I don't want to repeat information that other people are sharing in a very comprehensive and professional and lovely way. So we'll move on to the other side, but that gives you kind of an overview of the first half. And I usually do about maybe 2.5 inches worth of rope. I think that's plenty. For decorative reasons, if you want to go all the way down to the bottom and have the little knot and tassels be at the bottom, you can sew on other decorations, tassels and beads and stuff, and you can do that and then just whip stitch it all the way up the seam of the bag. But today we're just going to do about 2.5 inches. So here we go with the second half. Anyway, back to YouTube. Everybody gets to be an expert and have their own channel. And I just think that's adorable and fantastic and such an outreach to a community of makers that I'm thrilled about that. But I also don't want to overwhelm with information that's just rambling on. So hopefully sewing on these straps are going to help some of my students. When I get to class, I always include printed instructions. But I want to make sure that they have videos they can go to after class, because these steps we may not get to because they're still constructing the fabric collage and the cover, the outside of their bags. So we may not get to these final steps. So I wanted to make this video to send them to, so that if they, after class, finish their project and need a little reminder, they've got this available to them. So again, I got better as I went. This is the first class sample that I made, and so I got better on the second side, making it a little bit more half inch each advance and a little more two flips around the strap sort of thing. So the other thing I liked to do, I added to the Tilda wallflower fabrics that I curated and Cantha stitched down, I added some elements of lace, some motifs that I cut out, a couple of strips of lace, and then at the bottom I had this bridal lace that had some fringe. So I just sewed it while the bag was open. I folded it in half to figure out where exactly the center of the panel was, so that I could sew the lace on in a way that it would fall like fringe. And so that's what that little lacy dangly bits were actually sewn on in the original construction when the panel was laid flat. I added some Suffolk puffs, yo-yos, which we have learned how to make a couple of times in class now. And I think I have a video somewhere on my YouTube channel of making yo-yos, Suffolk puffs. I added a few of those to each side, and it was really fun to construct this. There's some mattress ticking fabric that I included, and I just did the panel as in a long, thin, open rectangle, remembering that each side was going to be facing up when it was folded. So if you have directional fabric you're including, you might want to be sure and make sure that all your prints are facing the right way. And then I just used a piece of Tilda fabric that, here's a little, I did some thread painting on this beautiful little piece that has her the little wallflower sort of fading into the fabrics. I'm showing you now the lace trim that I added. And on this side, it's Suffolk puffs and a little bit of embroidery on linen and another little lace insert. And did the cantha stitching around the Suffolk puffs. So I had a little bit of interest in the stitching. And then just a strip of Tilda, and we have a crossbody bag. And it's so cute, and mine is the perfect size to hold my phone, and there it is. Thanks for watching today. We'll see you soon. Beth Maitland at Drama Queen Bee Quilts.